A village can watch water rush past its door and still be thirsty weeks later. That is the Sahel water trap. The shock is not only that water is scarce. The shock is that water can arrive, fill lowlands, darken the soil, run through dry channels, and then disappear before it becomes security. Rain comes in a burst. Scarcity stays for months. That is why Burkina Faso's next water battle may not be under the ground. It may be the water already arriving and escaping, because a country can drill wells and still lose water. It can find groundwater and still waste rain. It can celebrate a wet season and still enter the dry season unprepared. So the real test is bigger than finding water. Can Burkina Faso slow it down, store it, protect it, and turn temporary rain into lasting survival? Or will the Sahel keep watching water pass through its hands before the dry season returns? Now look at the paradox. In many dry places, the problem is easy to imagine. No rain, no rivers, no water. But the Sahel is more complicated than that. There are months when rain does come. Sometimes it arrives suddenly. It hits hard. It fills low areas. It turns dry channels into moving water. It darkens the soil. It makes the landscape look alive again. And for a short moment, it can feel like scarcity has been defeated. But then the water moves. It runs across hardened ground. It collects in places that may not be protected. It evaporates under heat. It disappears into soil without being stored where people can use it. And when the dry season returns, the same villages can face the same old question. Where is the water now? That is the Sahel water paradox. Water can arrive without becoming water security. Rain can fall without becoming storage. A wet week can still lead to a dry year for ordinary families. This is why Burkina Faso's water story cannot stop at drilling wells. Wells matter. Groundwater matters. But water security also depends on what happens when rain falls from the sky. Does the land slow it down? Does the village capture it? Does the system store it? Does the community protect it from contamination? Does the water remain useful after the storm is gone? If the answer is no, then rain becomes a passing event instead of a lasting asset. This is the hidden weakness of many dryland regions. The crisis is not only the absence of water, it is the failure to hold water long enough for it to become life. Think of a village after heavy rain. For a few hours, water may be everywhere. Paths become muddy. Small streams appear. Children may see water running through places that were dry days earlier. But if there is no pond, no small reservoir, no protected tank, no restored soil, no contour structure, and no storage plan that water can leave almost as quickly as it came, then the village is not really richer in water. It only witnessed water passing through. That is the difference between rainfall and resilience. Rainfall is weather. Resilience is infrastructure. Rainfall is what arrives. Resilience is what remains. And this is where the next national question begins. Can Burkina Faso build systems that make rain stay longer? Not forever, not magically, but longer. Long enough to support drinking water points. Long enough to recharge wells. Long enough to protect small gardens. Long enough to help livestock. Long enough to reduce pressure when the dry months return. That is the real importance of storage. Storage turns a short event into a usable reserve. It turns a storm into a plan. It turns water that would disappear into water that can be managed. And it changes the way people think about the dry season. Without storage, people wait for rain and fear its disappearance. With storage, people can begin to plan around the water they kept. So Burkina Faso's next water battle may be less dramatic than a drilling machine hitting groundwater, but it may be just as important. Because the future is not only about finding water, it is about refusing to let water escape. This is why storage becomes the missing layer. Between rain and survival, there has to be something that holds water in place. Without that layer, water remains temporary. It appears, it moves, it disappears, and the village returns to scarcity. But with storage, the same water can become something very different. A reserve, a buffer, a bridge between the wet season and the dry season. That is the real power of water storage. It does not create rain. It does not remove drought. It does not make the Sahel easy, but it gives people more time before scarcity takes over again. And in dry regions, time is everything. A few extra weeks of usable water can protect a garden. A few extra months can protect animals. A reliable stored supply can help a clinic function. A protected reserve can reduce pressure on families that would otherwise walk farther every dry season. This is why storage should not be seen as a luxury project. It is basic survival infrastructure. A well brings water from below. A storage system holds water from above. And a serious water strategy needs both. Because groundwater and rainfall are connected in the same survival chain. When rain is captured well, it can recharge soil. It can reduce erosion. It can feed shallow groundwater. It can support vegetation. It can slow runoff. It can make wells more reliable over time. But when rain is allowed to escape, the land stays vulnerable. Water rushes away. Topsoil can be damaged. Useful moisture disappears. And the dry season begins with less protection. This is where Burkina Faso's water story becomes bigger than wells. A well is a point. Storage is a shield. A well can serve a village. Storage can reshape the landscape around that village. It can turn a storm into a reserve. It can turn a lowland into a useful water point. It can turn a dry season garden from a gamble into a plan. But storage also comes with risks. If water is stored badly, it can become contaminated. If it is uncovered, it can evaporate quickly. If it is placed poorly, it may serve the wrong area. If it is controlled by a few people, it can become another local gate. If it is not maintained, a reservoir tank or small dam can fail quietly, just like a broken pump. So storage is not just about building a place for water. It is about designing a system around the water. Where will the water come from? How will it be captured? How will it be protected? Who will use it first? How will it be cleaned or tested? How will animals be separated from drinking water? How will farmers use it without draining it too fast? Who repairs the structure when it cracks? Who decides the rules before the dry season becomes desperate? These questions matter because stored water becomes valuable water, and valuable water attracts demand. Households need it. Animals need it. Gardens need it. Clinics need it. Schools need it. Small farms need it. So the storage system must be ready before everyone reaches for the same limited reserve. That is why the best water storage projects are not only physical, they are social. They need rules, records, maintenance, fair access, local trust, and a plan for the hardest months. Because the real victory is not storing water for one day. The real victory is making stored water last long enough to change decisions. A family decides not to leave. A farmer decides to plant. A herder decides to stay closer. A clinic decides it can operate with more confidence. A village decides the dry season is no longer only something to fear. That is what storage can do. It turns water from a passing moment into a usable future. Now look at the physical side of storage. If water comes fast and disappears fast, then Burkina Faso needs places where water can slow down. Not one single solution, a chain of solutions. Small dams, village reservoirs, covered tanks, rainwater harvesting systems, protected ponds, water storage near clinics and schools, and managed water points that can serve people without turning every dry month into a scramble. This is where the story becomes less dramatic than a drilling rig, but more practical. A small dam may not look like a revolution. A storage tank may not look like a national transformation. A protected reservoir may not create the same shock as water bursting from the ground. But these structures can decide whether rain becomes useful after the storm ends. Think of a village lowland. During heavy rain, water may pass through quickly. If nothing slows it down, it leaves. But if the area has a small retention structure, a protected pond, or a managed reservoir, that same water can remain available for weeks or months. Not for unlimited use, not for waste, but for planned use. Drinking water support, animals, small gardens, emergency reserves, construction, cleaning, and public services that need water to function. The same logic applies to tanks. A clinic with no reliable stored water is fragile. A school without water is fragile. A market without water is fragile. A village that depends only on distant sources is fragile. So storage tanks can become quiet infrastructure. They do not need to look spectacular. They need to be placed well protected, well filled, reliably cleaned, regularly, and connected to a clear rule system. But every storage structure brings a design question. Where should it be built? Who will use it? How will contamination be prevented? How much evaporation will happen? Will animals be separated from household water? Will farmers be allowed to draw from it? Will there be a reserve for clinics? Who checks the structure after heavy rain? Who repairs cracks? Who stops one group from taking more than the system can handle? This is why water storage is not simply construction. It is management. A badly designed reservoir can become unsafe. An uncovered pond can lose water quickly. A tank with no cleaning schedule can become a health risk. A small dam with no maintenance plan can fail. A water point with no rules can become conflict. So the goal is not just to store more water. The goal is to store water safely, fairly, and usefully. That means different storage for different needs. Some water may be for drinking only. Some may be for animals. Some may support gardens. Some may be reserved for clinics and schools. Some may help recharge the ground rather than be pumped immediately. When those uses are mixed without rules, pressure grows. When those uses are separated clearly, storage becomes more reliable. This is the hidden system behind every serious water plan. Engineers can build the structure, but governance keeps it from failing. Technicians can install the tank, but cleaning keeps it safe. Communities can protect the reservoir, but only if they believe the rules are fair. So Burkina Faso's storage challenge is not only about building dams, tanks, and reservoirs. It is about building a chain that connects rainfall to daily life. Rain falls. Water slows. Storage fills. Quality is protected. Access is managed. Repairs are funded. And the reserve lasts long enough to matter. That is when storage becomes more than a container. It becomes time held in place. Now look at the storage system most people do not notice. The land itself. Because water does not only need tanks, ponds, and reservoirs. Sometimes the most important storage layer is the soil under people's feet. If the soil is hard, bare, and exposed, rain can hit the surface and run away. It moves fast. It carries soil with it. It leaves behind a landscape that becomes dry again quickly. But if the land is shaped to slow the water, everything changes. Water stays longer. Soil absorbs more. Seeds have a better chance. Grass can return. Trees can survive. And the ground begins to hold moisture instead of losing it. This is why Burkina Faso's water strategy cannot be only about machines. It also has to be about land design. Coarse, stone lines, small earth buns, half-moon, zai pits, tree planting, grass strips, restored lowlands, and farming methods that slow water before it escapes. These may not look as dramatic as a large dam, but in dryland regions, small structures repeated across many fields can create a powerful effect. A half-moon can catch rain around a plant. A zai pit can hold organic matter and moisture where a seed needs it. A stone line can slow runoff across a slope. A tree can reduce heat, protect soil, and help the land hold life. One structure is small. Thousands of structures can change how water behaves across a landscape. That is the hidden logic. Do not only chase water after it runs away, slow it where it falls, because every drop that stays in the soil is one drop that does not become flash runoff. Every restored field becomes a small storage system. Every field that holds moisture longer becomes a buffer against the next dry spell. This is where the idea of storage becomes much wider. Storage is not only a tank. It is also a field that no longer sheds water immediately. It is a hillside that slows runoff. It is a village boundary planted with trees. It is a lowland protected from erosion. It is soil rich enough to hold moisture after the rain stops. But land-based storage also needs discipline. If structures are built in the wrong place, they may fail. If communities are not trained, they may not maintain them. If animals destroy young trees, restoration slows. If fields are treated separately instead of as a watershed, water may still escape from higher ground. And if land rights are unclear, people may not invest labor in restoring soil they may not control later. That is the part many videos miss. Soil restoration is not only environmental, it is social. Who owns the land? Who maintains the structures? Who benefits when the field becomes productive again? Who protects young trees? Who decides where water is slowed? Who prevents upstream users from damaging downstream storage? These questions matter because the land can store water only when people agree to manage it. A reservoir can be guarded. A tank can be locked, but a landscape must be cooperated with. That is why the strongest water storage plan combines the visible and the invisible. Visible tanks, visible ponds, visible small dams, and invisible moisture held inside soil roots, shade, and restored ground. If Burkina Faso can connect those layers, then water storage becomes more than emergency supply. It becomes landscape recovery. Rain falls. The land slows it. The soil receives it. Plants protect it. Gardens become less fragile. And villages gain more time before the dry season takes control again. That may be the least dramatic form of water infrastructure, but it may also be one of the most powerful. Because when the land itself begins to hold water, the village is no longer only storing water in containers. It is storing water in the future. Now comes the danger that appears whenever water is stored. Storage water is not only a resource, it is power held in one place. And power always asks a question. Who controls access? If Burkina Faso begins storing rainwater through reservoirs, tanks, small dams, protected ponds, restored lowlands, and village water points, the country is not only building infrastructure, it is creating new gates. A gate can be physical, a locked tank, a fenced reservoir, a pump handle, a valve, a pipe, a storage room. But a gate can also be invisible, a committee that keeps no records, a local leader who decides who fills containers first, a farmer with more influence drawing more water than others, a livestock owner pushing animals toward water meant for households, a fee system that poor families do not understand, a repair fund that nobody can audit. This is the line between transparency and capture. In the transparent future, stored water has visible rules. People know why the storage site was built there. They know what the water is for. They know who manages it. They know when households have priority. They know where animals can drink. They know whether gardens can use the reserve. They know how much water should be kept for clinics and schools. They know what fees exist, where the money goes, and who can approve repairs. That kind of visibility does not remove every conflict, but it gives ordinary people a way to challenge unfairness before the dry season becomes desperate. In the captured future, the structure may still exist. The tank may be full. The reservoir may hold water. The small dam may work, but access moves through hidden permission. One family fills more. Another waits. One field receives water. Another dryers. One group controls the key. Another group is told to come back later. And slowly stored water becomes a private advantage instead of a public reserve. That is the danger, because water storage can reduce scarcity. But if captured, it can also concentrate power. This is why the governance of storage must be designed before the water arrives. Not after conflict begins. Not after the tank is locked. Not after the reservoir becomes contested. Before. The rules must answer the hardest questions early. Who uses stored water first during shortage? How much is reserved for drinking? How much is reserved for clinics? Can farmers use it for dry season gardens? Can animals drink directly, or must there be a separate point? What happens when the water level drops? Who decides when access must be limited? Who records daily use? Who reports contamination? Who pays for cleaning? Who repairs cracks, pumps, valves, tanks, or channels? And who can complain when the rules are abused? These questions may sound administrative, but in a dry season, administration becomes survival. A public rule can prevent conflict. A hidden rule can create resentment. A fair record can protect trust. A missing record can turn every bucket into suspicion. This is why Burkina Faso's storage push should not be measured only by how much water is captured. It should also be measured by how publicly that water is governed. Because the strongest storage system is not the biggest reservoir. It is the reserve people trust. Trust that the water is safe. Trust that the poor will not be pushed aside. Trust that women have a voice in management. Trust that herders and farmers are not forced into conflict. Trust that the clinic will not be forgotten. Trust that a repair fund will repair something. And trust that when the dry season comes, water will not disappear into the hands of the powerful. So the real question is not only whether Burkina Faso can store water before it disappears. The deeper question is whether it can keep stored water public after it becomes valuable. Because rain may fill a reservoir, but only transparency can keep that reservoir from becoming another gate. Now look at what stored water can become. If it is managed well, stored water is not only water. It is food security waiting to happen. But this has to be said carefully. A reservoir does not feed a country by itself. A tank does not create agriculture by itself. A small dam does not end drought by itself. Stored water becomes food only when it is connected to land, seeds, labor, rules, markets, animals, and timing. That connection is where the real value begins. Start with gardens. In a dry village, a small garden can matter more than it looks. It can provide vegetables when the dry season makes food more expensive. It can give women a small source of income. It can help families diversify meals. It can keep children closer to school because water and food production are no longer completely separated from village life. But a garden needs predictable water. Not unlimited water. Predictable water. Enough to keep seedlings alive. Enough to protect a small harvest. Enough to make planting feel less like gambling. That is where storage matters. Stored water gives farmers a bridge between rain events. It gives the soil more time. It gives small crops a better chance. And it gives a village one more option before scarcity forces harder choices. Now look at animals. In the Sahel, livestock is not only wealth, it is food income, mobility insurance, and identity. When water disappears, animals move. When animals move farther, pressure can grow between herders and farmers. A well-designed storage system cannot solve every conflict, but it can reduce desperation. If animals have designated access points, if household water is protected, if routes are planned, and if rules are visible, stored water can reduce pressure instead of creating a new battlefield. Now look at clinics and schools. Food security is not only crops, it is health. A clinic with stored water can clean more reliably. A school with stored water can protect children better. A community with safer water can reduce disease pressure that steals energy, money, and time from families. When people are sick, farming suffers. When children miss school, the future suffers. So water storage supports food security indirectly by protecting the people who produce, cook, carry, learn, and care. But the hardest issue is allocation. During shortage, who gets water first? Drinking water must come before gardens. Clinics must not be forgotten. Animals need access, but not at the cost of unsafe household water. Farmers need water, but if every farmer takes too much, the reserve collapses. This is why stored water needs a priority ladder before the dry season arrives. First survival, then health, then animals, then gardens and production based on what the reserve can truly support. Without that ladder, every dry month becomes a negotiation under pressure. With that ladder, the village has a plan. This is the practical link between storage and sovereignty. Not speeches, not slogans. A village that stores water can plan a garden. A herder can plan movement. A clinic can plan hygiene. A family can plan meals. And a community can face the dry season with more control. That does not mean scarcity disappears. It means scarcity becomes less absolute. And in the Sahel, less absolute can change everything. Because when water is kept long enough to support food, health, animals, and daily life storage stops being a container, it becomes a survival strategy. Now we need the scorecard, because water storage can look successful from the outside and still fail when people need it most. A reservoir can be full after rain. A tank can look strong on opening day. A small dam can hold water for a few weeks. A field can look greener after a storm. But the real question is what remains later. After 1 month, after 3 months, after the heat returns, after demand rises, after animals arrive, after gardens begin drawing water, after the first repair is needed. So the first number is storage capacity. How much water can be held? But capacity alone is not enough. The second number is usable water. How much of that stored water is safe, protected, and available for the right purpose? Water stored badly is not security. It is risk. The third number is duration. How long does the water last after the rain stops? 2 weeks, 2 months, deep into the dry season. This is the number families feel. Because storage only matters if it extends time. The fourth number is loss. How much water is lost to evaporation, leakage, contamination, or uncontrolled use? A storage system that fills quickly but empties wastefully may create hope without resilience. The fifth number is access. Who can use the stored water? Households, clinics, schools, animals, gardens, poor families, remote communities. If access is unclear, storage becomes conflict. The sixth number is maintenance. Our tanks cleaned, our cracks repaired, our channels cleared, our ponds protected, our small dams inspected after heavy rain. A storage structure without maintenance is just another future failure. The seventh number is soil moisture. This is harder to see but extremely important. Our fields holding water longer. Our zai pits half moons, stone lines trees, and restored lowlands, reducing runoff. Is the land becoming better at keeping rain where it falls? If the answer is yes, storage is not only happening in containers, it is happening across the landscape. The eighth number is food impact. Our gardens surviving longer. Our vegetables more available in the dry season. Our animals moving less desperately. Our clinics and schools operating with more confidence. Our families facing fewer impossible choices. The ninth number is governance. Our rules public, our fees recorded, our women represented, our herders and farmers included, our complaints possible. Is water quality information visible? Can ordinary people see whether the system is being managed fairly? And the 10th number is trust. Do people believe stored water will still be there when the hardest months arrive? Do they believe the rules will protect the weakest families? Do they believe the reserve is public, not captured? That is the real scorecard. Capacity, usable water, duration, loss, access, maintenance, soil moisture, food impact, governance, trust. If Burkina Faso can measure those things honestly, water storage becomes more than an announcement. It becomes a system people can plan around. And in the Sahel, planning around water may be the difference between surviving the dry season and being controlled by it. So the ending has to return to the first image. A village can watch water rush past its door and still be thirsty weeks later. That is the trap Burkina Faso has to break. Because the future of water in the Sahel is not only underground. It is also in the rain that arrives too quickly, the runoff that escapes too easily, the soil that dries too fast, and the storage systems that either exist before the storm comes or do not exist at all. Finding water matters. Drilling wells matters. But keeping water may decide whether those discoveries become lasting security. That means small dams that are maintained, tanks that are cleaned, reservoirs that are protected, fields that hold moisture, trees that protect soil, rules that everyone can see, records that people can trust, and reserves that do not become private gates when the dry season gets hard. This is why storage is not just a technical project. It is a national discipline. Can Burkina Faso slow water down before it disappears? Can it store water without contaminating it? Can it use water for drinking clinics, animals, and gardens without draining the reserve too fast? Can it protect the poor when access becomes valuable? Can it make rain last longer than the storm? If the answer is yes, then the Sahel story changes. Rain is no longer only a brief event. It becomes a resource that can be planned, protected, and shared. But if the answer is no, the cycle continues. Water arrives, people watch it move. The land dries again. And the dry season returns with the same old power. So comment your country below. In your area, what would matter most? Wells, tanks, reservoirs, soil restoration, or fair water rules. And subscribe for more documentary-style breakdowns on Africa's water, agriculture, infrastructure, sovereignty, and public systems. Because a country does not only become stronger when it finds water, it becomes stronger when it learns how not to lose it. Disclaimer, this video is fictional storytelling created for education, commentary, and entertainment. It is not a factual report or official information. Any similarities to real events are coincidental. Please enjoy it as creative content only.